welcome to another video by NovaPans Handpans. These videos are going to be quite special. We're creating a series of lessons for teaching people not only how to play the handpan, but specifically how to read music for the handpan. And the reason why this has been underestimated and is really important is because with sheet music, with being able to read music and play music on your handpan or whatever musical instrument it is, you're allowed to finally search any kind of music you like online and apply that to your instrument. So you don't have to rely on just watching videos and learning by ear. You know, you can finally learn from a resource which you can interpret, which you can read. And I'm surprised that no one else has tried to do this, other than I think a few people have tried things such as animations and nice little symbols in their own kind of music notation. But I think it's about time that someone used traditional sheet music, traditional music notation to teach the handpan. Now, don't be afraid, it's not going to be 100% traditional. In fact, the handpan isn't a traditional musical instrument, it's only 20 years old. So what I've decided is I've devised a system using traditional music notation to best represent the handpan. Now, we're going to cover all sorts of things, by the way. We're going to cover rhythm, scales, all sorts of various percussive elements of the handpan, and a lot more. So definitely check out all the different videos and the practice material too. We're going to be providing lots of practice material for you to actually not just learn from the videos, but be able to take this home and practice in your own time. So without any further ado, let's get on with it. Lesson 0, we're going to call this lesson 0.1. Now, a lot of people already know how to get the best sound out of the handpan, but for a lot of people this is completely new. Maybe you don't even have a handpan yet. So let's teach you how to get the sound on the handpan. Now, everybody's got a different name for this, but we call it the touch technique. Now, it is as easy as you think. You do just tap on the handpan. However, and I've got a second camera here now you can check out, there is a certain technique to it. Now, when you get the handpan, it's okay to just have a go, you know, try to make some sound. But don't be surprised that if when you play, you get a sound which is a bit dead, like this, quite muted. And the reason you're getting that muted sound is because you're not releasing your hand quick enough. So the best analogy I give to people to get the best sound out of your handpan is to imagine that you're touching a really hot plate, okay? And obviously you don't want to touch that hot plate for more than, you don't want to touch it for any longer than a millisecond, to be honest. So the same concept applies to playing the handpan. You've got to tap your note as quickly as possible. And that applies to all the notes. And so I just played the scale, but don't worry too much about that. Just pick one note or different notes in any order and just practice using your middle finger. So what we'll do is I'll draw a hand. I don't think a lot of people give very much information on where exactly you're supposed to use a hit with your hand. So this is a terrible drawing of a hand, okay? But this is the thumb here. Now every finger, as you see, has 2 creases, right? It's got your finger crease, and you've got that second joint, and then you've got your third joint there. And then this is the middle finger. Now I'm only referring to the middle finger because for me, I use the middle finger for all my notes up at the top, although I do use my thumb sometimes for the lower notes at the bottom. So we will also reference the thumb as well. Now notice the thumb only has 2 joints there, like that. So what I use when I tap with my middle finger is I use, contrary to what a lot of people suspect, I don't use the actual fingertip, although that's a great starting point if you've just started trying to make sounds. The fingertip is great. However, to get a really warm sound, as something which is a lot richer, I use the crease. I use this section here of the middle finger. So that's actually your final, the final connection between your 2 joints, that crease there where your finger bends. And I use that particular point to strike on a note. Now obviously I'm not entirely accurate every time I hit the notes. Sometimes I hit slightly lower. And you'll notice that on the middle finger, it is notably a little more fleshy the lower down you get. Of course, by the time you get to the hand, it's a little too fleshy. That's not really where you want to be hitting. You want to be hitting in the middle section of your middle finger, predominantly on that final crease. So what I'll do is, I've already highlighted the final crease here, but I'll also draw a little, grey area here as well, which you can use. Obviously, to get started with, it's great to use your fingertips, and there are techniques where you use your fingertips and you get a slightly more slappy sound. Sometimes you're able to control a quieter sound a lot better with your fingertips as well, but it's really up to you. Notice how some people do actually use the actual fingertips as well, the bony tips of your fingers. Now, the effect of that is the sound itself is quite bony. It's each note is quite acute, it's quite accented, pointy. That's effective in itself as well, but if you want that really rich and warm sound, which you get in all the handpan videos, you want to be using the crease part, the end crease part of your middle finger, as indicated here. So I'll rub out the fingertip. Alright, so the best way to practice that, we're just doing the middle finger right now, is to get both hands, because you don't want to ignore even your weaker hand, you've got to make sure you're practicing for both. And pick a note. Normally the D note is the best note to start on because it's the easiest to play. And what you want to do is pick a tempo. Now tempo is your time, okay? Your speed. Now it's really important that you understand how important tempo is, because if you can't play to time, then you're gonna have a lot of problems later coming up with your own music or interpreting other people's music. So picking a tempo is normally referred to beats per minute. So if we did, this is a little technical now, but you can know if you need to. 60 beats per minute is a beat per second. Okay, so if we click every second. Now this is a good practice tempo, 60 beats per minute. It's not too slow, not too fast. And what we're going to do is, we're going to play a note on every beat, okay? Without speeding up, without slowing down, okay? And the way you're going to do this is you're going to go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, okay? Just keep practicing this, even if it takes you 10 minutes to get the best sound you can. Remember, if you're getting this sound, that's the dead sound we talked about, the muted sound. You've got to release your fingers more. If you're struggling to hit precisely on that middle finger section, don't worry too much about it, just stick with what's comfortable. In fact, a lot of people firstly, they just play whatever's comfortable to them. Some people use a different finger. Kids particularly have smaller hands, they can use all fingers in a gentle slapping motion. Really young kids like to just slap all over the handpan. If you allow that, then you can allow that, but most people don't really want kids slapping all over the handpan. So if kids are using their hands, make sure it's not too forceful, especially since the notes on the handpan can be quite fragile. So back to your middle finger. In a later tutorial, later lesson, we'll probably cover using different fingers as well, which is a technique in itself, okay? But for now, we're just doing the middle finger. Okay, so if you've practiced that, that's really the first stage of learning the handpan. Make sure you're not speeding up or slowing down. Keep that constant tempo. And a good habit to get into is to download a free metronome app, or buy one if you want to, off the App Store, and set the beats per minute to 60 beats per minute, and just have that click in the background. And make sure that every beat is your note. You're not speeding up, you're not slowing down. Now these are practice techniques which they teach us in classical music lessons. So I'm not making this up. So I'm teaching you what I know. So the best way to get good at anything, obviously, is to practice, but not just practice. Practice in a certain way. Perfect practice makes perfect. So get a metronome app. That's your middle finger. Now I'm going to teach you using your thumb as well, because the scale, which we'll come on to after this, is, you'll notice how I use my thumb for the second note. If the ding is the first note, this one is the second note. I'll get into that in more detail, but striking with the thumb is much easier down here than getting your old chicken wing hand out like this and striking like that. Some people have that flexibility. If you want to use your middle finger down here, you can. But then going to that next note, which would be the 4th note, there's a bit more rotation than what would be using your thumb and then middle finger. So I'm going to teach you how to use your thumb on the 2nd note. Now notice, by the way, depends on your handpan, but most handpans, 2nd and 3rd notes are like this, where the 3rd note is on the left-hand side of the handpan. And why is that important? Because if your 3rd note is on the left-hand side of your handpan, it means you're going to have to use your left hand to strike that. Why? It's because you cross over, and now we're getting into the scale now, but you go left, right, left, right, left, right, left as you go up and down the handpan. So it doesn't make sense to go down and then reach to the left side with your right hand and have crossed over hands as you go up. So that's why if your handpan's 3rd note is on the left hand, you start the handpan, the 1st note with your left hand. Now, sorry if that's a little confusing. Let's get back to the thumb. My point is, you have to use your right thumb for most handpan 2nd notes. But if you do find your 3rd note is on the right hand side of your handpan, don't worry, you'll just have to use your other thumb, okay? Now on the actual thumb itself, we're not actually using the flat part, the front facing section of it. We're using the side and partially more bony part of it. You can see you've got the crease there, you've got the joint, and it's particularly bony there. So that is what I use to strike the note. So you see you've got the thumb, top crease again, just like the middle finger, the very top crease. And then on the side, if we're looking at the left hand here, right, I would strike here. Now it's not too hard of a strike, and notice how the strike itself is not using your elbow or your wrist like that, it's using your wrist like that. Technical terms is this is a roll rotation and this is a pitch rotation. So for your middle fingers you use your pitch like that, and for the thumbs you use your roll. So, you know, I don't know, surfer guy, that kind of thing. So that's what you need for that 2nd note, okay? So, and also where are you striking on the handpan? Where you strike on the handpan is also important. So on the ding itself, you're aiming for the middle. So it's not like you're splitting the ding between your right and left hand. They both strike in the same place, ideally. Of course, you're not going to hit in precisely the same space every time. But as long as you're aiming for that middle point on the ding, that's absolutely fine. As for the notes around the ding, you'll see they're oval shaped. Now, typically on the thumb, we hit the ring section, just on the outside of the concave here. You hit the ring section for your thumb, if you can see that. So it's a roll flick. I say flick, meaning it's a quick whipping motion like that with your wrist, and that will get you that nice sound with your on your 2nd note with your thumb. Obviously, if you're using the left hand, you might have to practice that if that is your weak hand, or vice versa. For me, it is. So you can tell I don't get as good a sound with my left as I do with my right. If you can do the thumb, then you're already capable of using your middle finger for the other notes. So your other notes, like I said, are your middle finger. Now you can play these in one of 2 ways. Some people use what I said, the end crease of your middle finger on the outer rim of the inside oval, inside concave ovals. Some people even use the same section that they use for their 2nd note with their thumb, i.e. the outer rim. So you can either go, if we look at this note here, you can either hit that end crease on the inside oval, or you can even try and hit that on the rim outside. Now if you do try it on the rim, I say the rim outside, I mean that section here, the rim section here. If you do hit that there, you'll notice probably that it's more of a slappy sound, which there's nothing wrong about it. It's quite effective depending on what you're trying to do. But if you want a warm, rich, and that stereotypical handpan sound, very marshmallow-like, I suppose, you want to really be aiming for the inside rim. Okay, so there you have it. That's how you use your middle finger and your thumb finger to play all the notes of the handpan. Now, if you want to know specifically which notes to use which fingers, in other words, the scale of the handpan, check out lesson number 2. This was just a brief introduction into how to get your touch technique on the handpan. So see you at the next one.